Hey guys, welcome to the next podcast with Runners Eye with Bala, podcast with runners series. This is going to be episode number 7 or 8. Don't quote me on this. I think it's episode number 7, season 5. And as always, I've got the next triplet of super close to me human beings, friends, and spend a lot of time with these guys. We have been with them for a long time. And boy, these are characters that I'm so excited to introduce to all of you. So without further, ado from my side, why don't I allow them to introduce themselves? Please go ahead, gentlemen.
Hi, my name is Srikanth. I live in Edison, New Jersey. I grew up in India, and I studied. I did my bachelor's in engineering from Roorkee, and then I did my master's in ISC Bangalore. And then I worked with a metallurgical firm, L&T for a couple of years, and then usual route, joined Infosys, came to US. I lived in Chicago for 10 years, then moved to Hartford, Connecticut. Then, right now I'm in Edison, New Jersey. I am a senior vice president with a large insurance company, and I am in their data and analytics division. I'm a data engineer as well. So I'm blessed with 2 kids. My first one, his name is Siddhartha. He is 16-year-old and he's a good soccer player. And my younger one is Savartha, who is also part of the running group, and he also plays soccer. I obviously, I get my opportunity to run with them as well, run with Sammy as well. And you guys have heard, once in a while, his name, his podcast as well. And I'm blessed with my beautiful wife Madhvi, who is also part of the runner side and he's also a runner as well. And in terms of my physical or athletical capabilities, I was never a professional sportsman, but I was always interested in soccer, and I used to play badminton. So I was always very active. And lately, I started to get introduced to this whole running activity and into endurance running. And I think that's pretty much it from
Awesome,
my side.
Srikanth. Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't know any member of his family? The one member that at least this group haven't gotten fully introduced is Sid. His first son is a soccer captain of his high school. Fantastic athlete, unbelievable sprinter. He's more of a sprinter, unbelievable sprinter, fantastic athlete, and also a very humorous guy. I wish one day he graces our runners eye with Bala. I'm sure he's not interested in long distance run, but he's the best athlete in his group, in my mind, in his family, which is the family itself is a very high bar from an athletic standpoint. Srikanth is blessed with amazing genes from an athletic standpoint. Sammy, as we all got, our high-end athlete in our group, sub 2, 155, going for 152, all of 11 years old. So yes, and thank you, Srikanth. Your family has dedicated a lot of time in all. You've been a kids coach, and you are a kids coach. You're always that person right from beginning. You are that one person I lean on for any work, from like menial work to coaching work to anything. I always kind of put my responsibility on you. So thanks for that. Madhvi, of course, I don't need to introduce her. She is like the most important person from an administration of this group standpoint, t-shirts, admissions, everything Madhvi does. She spends so much of time. So thank you for all the things that you do as a family to Runners High. And now with that, let's welcome the second guest.
Hey Bala, hey everyone. My name is Sonia Oberoi. I am based in New Jersey, actually in the same neighborhood where Bala is, just a few houses away from Bala and Srikanth. And I've been in US for 10, 12 plus years. I have a beautiful family. I have 2 lovely kids, which I'm very proud of. So my son is Ishan. He's 12 years old, and he was part of Runners High until last season. And he's an avid runner too. And my daughter Trisha, she is 7 years old, and she is training for her second 10K now in season 5. My husband Atul, he was part of season 4 and trained for a full marathon and did an amazing job. I'm very, very proud of him. I think he finished in 4 hours 30 plus minutes, his
Oh,
first marathon. It was amazing. And the way the religiously he trained for it, it's just mind blowing.
yeah.
He was a step ahead of me, I must say, in training last season. I worked for a company called Infinium. It's a Shell and ExxonMobil joint venture. And what we do is we make lubricants, so motor oils and power transmission fluids and fuel additives. I have done various roles at Infinium, did 11 plus years in R&D technology, did 2 years in sales and 1 year in marketing, and I've enjoyed all my roles. I must say that I'm scientist by training, so I have masters in chemistry and polymers, and then I did my PhD in polymers from Germany. And it was at the time we got married, and I came to US to join my husband, who was based in Austin at the time. And then I moved 12 years ago to New Jersey. And since
And
then,
you met your husband in what, IIT Delhi, is that right?
yes. So I did my graduation master's from IIT Delhi, and that's where I met him.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, yeah, see, like Srikanth's family, Sonia's family, I need a separate podcast to talk about their family in terms of the caliber of everybody in the family. Now, let me give you one sentence about each of them, right? Atul, as she rightly said, top athlete, first time full marathon training. I mean, he doesn't need a training, really. He's just like Srikanth, genetically endowed with some unbelievable athletic genes. But he further honed that, I would say, in the last season. And who starts off a full marathon training at 4:30? I mean, like, that's just crazy. That's what he did. And this is running alone in COVID times. If only he had run a New York Marathon just by the enthusiasm and all that, another 20 minutes he can shave off, I guess. So that is Atul, a phenomenal sub-2 half marathoner as well. So he's just the league of the three of you, basically. Ishan, I gave him one season rest this season because, he's doing too many things. He's a future Ironman in my mind. The top athlete in our group, Ishan, I think he's a 150, 151 pace last time, his PR. He can be a 145, 140 pace very soon as he gains, height and strength and all that as these boys are growing. He's like 11, 12 years. How old is he? Is he 12?
No, 12, yeah.
12, yeah. He's like everybody looks up to Ishan in the boys group here in New Jersey. So I can't wait for him to come back next season. And, he's like I feel like he's my son in running. That's how I see him. And Sonia, before I come to Sonia, the little girl, she's the youngest one in our group. She, and now we have one more person, Sam's daughter. They are the same. I think she may be 6.5 and she's 7. But still, the youngest one in the group, 10K runner, cannot wait to see that medal picture after the season end. And let's talk about Sonia. Sonia, about other things which we learn about Sonia in this podcast, I would say that she is kind of from a philosophical standpoint, she's the mother of RHWB. I'll tell you why. It was her question to me. Why don't you train Ishan? That question is how I started this group. So I totally think if that question did not come from Sonia to me, hey Bala, I saw that you are just helping Manoj's son. Why don't you also train Ishan? That question, when I pondered that answer to that question, I said, okay, I should train Ishan. When I'm training Ishan, let me also train some more kids of our neighborhood. And that is how Runners Eye Group was formed. So thank you for asking that question. As they say, right, big things happen with simple statements. And I guess in that way, that's why you're philosophically the mom of RHWB as a whole. You always have that. So thanks, Sonia. Phenomenal athlete. And we'll talk a little bit more about Sonia shortly. With that, let's welcome the third guest.
Thank you, Bala. I'm GV Ganesh. I've been GV since my kindergarten, I guess. So everybody calls me GV. I grew up in Chennai. I still call it Madras. So did schooling. Actually, I've been with Bala since 6th grade. We've been classmates together. Of course, we'll reserve some of those stories for post-season party, maybe, right? But I enjoyed every moment of our time together. So I did my engineering in BHU, a metallurgical engineer by training. Worked in a steel plant for a couple of years. Then went on my MBA in India from IIM Ahmedabad. And I came here to Dallas to work 22 years back, and I've lived in Dallas all those 22 years. Again, I feel it's once you live here, it's very difficult to leave. From a sporting ability standpoint, till my 10th grade, I was just playing cricket like most people in India. But with better infrastructure and facilities since in my college, I actually picked up 5 sports and represented my college in 5 sports. So you can imagine the quality of the skill of people in all those 5 sports
What are those
that I
5
could make
sports?
it. Mine, it was cricket, of course, basketball, volleyball, badminton, and table tennis.
Wow.
So, and of course, I play some frisbee as well, having grown up in Besant Nagar Beach in Chennai. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. The funny thing is that while I used to play all these sports, there used to be a few people running around in our courts, and I used to think that those who can't play run, because if you can play, why won't you do that? Having a lot more fun rather than just running, which is a boring thing, is what I thought at that time. My family, I'm blessed with a beautiful family, like everybody else in this podcast. So I have Deepa, my wife. She did her first season last season actually. She was never into running, but she just had the will and the training support to do it. And I'm blessed with 3 kids. So Netra, so she's doing her first season this year. She plays volleyball for a school, and she couldn't enroll last season, I mean. And I have blessed with twin boys, Vishruth and Vidyut. So they were in the past couple of podcasts back. And so they actually did their first season as well. And they did very well. And they continue to enjoy this whole program, if you may.
Amazing. Welcome, guys. Welcome to this podcast. So glad that, I have you, and finally we are able to get connected. So guys, for the audience, every group we create for this podcast, there are some common threads. That's the reason why this group is created, right? So when I look back and look at these 3, there are a lot of things that are sort of common, right? Let me just lay that out for you. First of all 3 are by themselves very, very good athletes. They've done some amazing stuff, and they will continue to do some amazing stuff. They're great athletes. They all do running very well. Okay, so that's one. Second thing is they're also, parents of unbelievable athletes. All 3 of them have some fantastic athletes. All 10 and 11-year-old kids. They will do some crazy stuff in running. I can guarantee you that. I can see that. So that's another common thing. The third common thing, when I look back, which I didn't think of it at that time when I put together this group, but now I'm thinking about it, which seems the most common thing, is all 3 are A-grade nerds. Unbelievable. What I mean by that is, I am IIT Roorkee Indian Institute of Science, IIT Delhi PhD Chemistry, Indian Institute of Delhi, Indian Institute, IIT BHU, and then I am MBA. So I'm honestly, I feel little, honored to be with unbelievable quality people intellectually also. That's another common thing out of the 3 of you. Thank you guys for doing that.
Hey, Bala, but the thing is, people who have gone through these institutes know the reality that it really doesn't matter.
True. I echo that.
I mean, when I was in 12th standard, these schools and all are like, far away from my ability to even come anywhere close to the gates. So I feel very, honored to be among the 3 of you. One other thing I wanted to also say, GV, in Tamil, GV, Arivu GV means like a genius. In our Tamil language, GV means genius. And, I told you, right, I've been with GV from 6th grade. He's a true genius. And his father, I think, did the right way in giving him the name GV. So thank you, GV, for the right name for you, buddy. You are a genius in many respects, apart from running. So with that, welcome, guys. So let me go to the first question, which is, how did you fall into this endurance running, thingy? And let's start with Sonia.
Okay, so for me, Bala, it was just a coincidence. I was trying to lose the extra pounds that I had put on during the pregnancy with Trisha. I was 185, 190 pounds, and it was demotivating to carry that much weight all the time. So I started walking, and I religiously was walking 5 miles every day. And that helped me in losing the extra pounds, the loose pounds that I had. So just 6 months of running and I lost close to 20 pounds.
Wow.
So I was feeling very good. And it was one of those days when we were having a discussion in the ladies group, let's say everyone should set a target to lose weight. And that's when we all in the RTGS circle, all the women started to do some kind of physical activity, running or strength training or something to lose weight. And that's when I started kind of walk and run kind of mix. And it was at the same time when Renu brought the idea of running for a half marathon, because you signed up for one. And I thought, yes, I think I can do it. I'm running 5 miles every day. So extra 7 miles, I can shave it off. And if worse come worse, I can just walk off the 7 miles if I cannot run the last one. So I did, as a result, I signed up for a half marathon and completed that. Not really bad for the first half marathon, 2 hours, 30 plus minutes. And it was really a good experience. I should not say it was painless because it was my first one and I did not know what to expect.
Yep.
But I went with the mindset that there will be pain.
Yeah.
So I was prepared for it. So I think it made it easier.
Absolutely. And one very, very powerful thing about Sonia is that once she has a target, it could be anything. Once she has a target, it takes a lot for Sonia to not achieve that. She'll give everything she has, to get to that and give her best. That's something that I always get inspired when I interact with Sonia and the way she executes whatever she wants to get into, whether even at work or at home. I mean, think about Sonia. If in our house we put pre-COVID times, we used to have parties pretty much every other weekend. Okay. And we have gone to every house for food. Basically, I think in weekends, we never eat at home. We have to eat at some other place. Sonia's party means I look forward to the spread of food. Alone, she will make 40 different items. Maybe I'm a little bit exaggerating, maybe 40, 20 different items. Not just making delicious food. That is just okay. That's like average, right? Making good food is par for the course as far as Sonia is concerned. It's about preparation and presentation. It'll look like some kind of a 5-star buffet. That's how she'll present. And everything done alone. I mean, of course, we have Atul, who's excellent in eating and just passing
psychological help from Atul. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Help is literally eating. That's the only help I think Atul can provide. Of course, 2 young kids that she talked about. So, but that reminds me, do you have only 2 kids or you have one more kid as well? I think.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I have 3 kids actually. And she is going to be the fastest one in the family. She's training for it. Getting there, already leaving us behind, and her name is Blessing. She is only 5 months old at this time. And we are all the family members are looking forward to be running with her very, very soon. And she's a Siberian Husky. Lovely one. She talks to us and she is adorable. We love her.
Of course, the whole family is now revolved. She has a blessing. First of all, what a blessing to have a dog husky like that. And she has all Sonia's family in her pinky fingers at this point. And yeah, huskies are supposed to be the runners. And I'm positive that she will be the best runner in the group, which is saying a big thing because everybody is a great runner in Sonia's house. Awesome.
Bala, in the New Jersey area where you all live, so is Destiny the coach for all the dogs out there?
Probably, yeah. She's the senior most. She has done at least maybe 10 half marathons. She must have done, because all my long runs and full marathons she used to run with me.
We need Kipchoge to run with the Blessing. She is just too fast.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. But yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I'm waiting for COVID to get over is I want to get back to Sonia and do that weekend party that she normally hosts sometimes, to get the 20 plus SKUs of food that she prepares. So thank you, Sonia. Thanks for all the things you do. GV, what about you, buddy? How did you get into the long distance endurance part of your life?
Sure. Again, as I said, I never thought running is something that I'll be doing. Again, came here, life happened, found time to play, but sometimes once, I think in mid 2000s, I just went for a run, just trying it out. And within a mile, I had a severe knee pain, actually. Right. So then I went to my ortho, and actually, funny enough, he was an Indian guy. He had 3 kids, a daughter and twin sons. Okay, and he was a left-hander like me, and he said that yes, I used to have this pain as well, and actually I took up long distance running, and that really helped me, though it is counterintuitive.
Interesting.
So more than the pain, I was really intrigued by this guy. Was all of probably 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", whatever he was. In spite of being a doctor and he's able to do that, I should try this out. And again, of course, I didn't have a bala at that time. All that I knew was, I can just do some calculation of what time and speed. So given generally the thing, I had some goals of a speed at which I should run, and I just did it. So my first run was the 2014 Dallas Half Marathon.
Got it.
And since then, I've done a few, about 4 or 5 of them, right? And we as a family have done a few Susan Komen 5Ks and so on, right?
Got it.
But when I did this, I had one unique experience where in 2018, I had some plantar fasciitis, and I was not running that year at all. I was not training for the Dallas Marathon. But one of my friends was running for the first ever time, and his average pace was about 2 minutes less than mine. So he said, "Hey, I'm going to run. Can you just join me?" So I thought, look, he's running 2 minutes slower than I am. And I didn't train even for one day. And I just said, I'll go and do it. So all great. And actually, funny enough, a week before that, Bala called me and said he's visiting Dallas. He has a cousin, and he was en route from East Coast to West Coast, one of these many coast to coast trips. And his cousin lives in Dallas as well. And he said, "Hey, I'm planning to do the Dallas half." I said, "Wonderful." I said, "I'm also going to do that." Right. And we took some pictures pre-run and all of that. But Bala was trying to do his PR. So he was very focused on running fast. So I started with my friend. Great first 4 miles. I was just pacing, and I said, okay, great. But from the 5th mile on, I had some tremendous pain and cramping. And to the point where after 6 miles, my friend took off, and I was kind of doing some 50 meters walk, 50-meter run, and so on and so forth. And finally, I finished, actually. I took 3 hours, 15 minutes to finish that race. So what I realized is it doesn't matter how athletic you are, how blessed you are, or whatever, but at the end of the day, you have to train to do this kind of long distance running. And when Bala, you told me that you're running this program and you said you should try this out, I was really intrigued. I want to see whether I can really train for something ever in my life, because all the sports and all the playing I've done, I've just picked up, showed up, and run. I've been blessed. And that's what intrigued me, Bala. And it has been a fantastic experience last season and continues to be in this season as well.
It's amazing. So guys, there's one good learning here, right? This for the audience. All these 3 are, in my definition, elite runners. Elite runner. When I say elite runners, pace as well as endurance, they have kind of do really well, and then they will continue to do well. And they've done some amazing number of marathons and half marathons. We'll talk about it. The lesson here is 2 things. One is mental strength. If you have, you can make this happen, even without physicals, like what happened with GV, right? He didn't train much. He had a problem at the 5th mile only, but still he was able to finish to 13th mile. How did that happen? That was because it was driving. The mental strength was driving him to somehow finish the marathon. Okay. So that there is a plus and a minus on this, guys. Mental strength, having strong mental strength is great, because then you can achieve these big things. Strong mental strength without an adequate training is also a path to injury, because mental strength will drive the body to do something that the body is not ready for, but mentally you will push it, and then you have an injury. It's lucky that GV did not have any injury. That's because of his maybe athletic background in the past, and he was able to kind of recover quickly. But let's say if I had done that, I'm not an athletic background in my genes and all that, and I would have 100% had a injury. Either a hamstring, injury, or a back problem, or something or the other would have happened. If I just did it with mental, and I've had similar experience in my past, where I've just used my mental strength and did mountain climbing especially, and then I get messed up, completely messed up after that. Okay, so I just wanted to call that out. The second thing is his insight about, even for good runners, you got to train, you got to respect this sport. If you don't respect this sport, you have no business in being in runner's high with Bala. That's how I would say. because the mission of Runners High with Bala here is the journey is the destination. We are thinking about how do you do a 16-week structured, disciplined, committed training. You know, that itself is a lot of training. There is a lot of transferable skills. Committing to one thing, defeating boredom, defeating that monotonous sort of thing to keep doing the same thing again and again. That is very transferable to a lot of things in life. That is where character builds. And that's what we are trying to do in Runners High. And thank you, GV, for bringing that up. Training is critical in these kind of things. Srikanth, would you agree with that? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Sorry,
Bala,
Yeah,
I wanna
yeah,
add
yeah,
one thing.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, JV.
Yeah, so just for everybody's benefit, that run was actually Bala's PR. So here's a chance where I get to ask Bala, what was your PR, Bala?
Thank you, buddy. So that is, yes, it still remains my PR half marathon, 2 hours, 10 minutes, which is like a sub 10 for the first time. For me, that's a huge deal. My first half marathon, I told you, was 3 hours, 15 minutes. So for me to do a sub 10, and still that is my PR. I haven't broken that pace.
Yeah, Bala, 3 hours, 15 minutes is what I did in that race. So I will remember it. For
There you go. There you go. Thanks, TV, for the plug and giving me the opportunity to boast about myself a little bit. Srikanth, what about you, buddy? Do you agree with these comments or any other?
Yep. No, I totally agree with these comments. But my journey to like endurance running was very funny because I never thought about doing long runs. I was never interested in doing, like marathon or half marathon. In fact, when I met Bala, I mean, he was one of my neighborhood friends, and he said, I'm training for marathon. You seem like you play badminton, you do this, you seem athletic. Why don't you also kind of run with me? I said, no. Half marathon, full marathons are not for me. I'm fine with, doing just normal athletic activity, doing short runs and stuff. But then there was a point in time when Bala registered for Rutgers half marathon. And I don't know which year, I think 6 years back. And he said, for office work, he was supposed to be going out of station. So he said, I have registered, I have a bib, and there's nobody to run. Why don't you just take my bib and run? And I'm like a sucker for freebies, right? I never miss any freebies.
Even though it causes pain.
Yeah, but at that point in time, I didn't realize, what I'm getting into. So I said, okay, fine, I'll run, but it's 13 miles, right? 13 odd. I didn't even know how many miles was half marathon at that point in time.
That is crazy.
So I said, okay, but do you think I'll be able to run? I was not very sure that I can run 13 miles. They said, no, don't worry about it. Come to River Trail with me. So I went to River Trail with him, and he said, just go and run 5 miles. So come and like a couple of you, me, Bala, and then a couple of other guys said, okay, we'll run 5 miles. So I went and I ran 5 miles. I said, yeah, it was okay. Nothing bad. I said, then you go take my bib, trust me, go to Rutgers half marathon and start running. So that was, and this was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the Rutgers half marathon. So I went there. I ran, and I completed the half marathon. It was like, okay, like 2 hours, 28 minutes or something like that, which was pretty okay. I mean, for the first timer without training. But one thing that I realized was that, after the run, I was in a lot of pain because I've never ran that kind of distance before. I mean, I have played all kinds of sports, but never ran that kind of, distance before with no training, no strength training, right? So that's why, coming to GV's point, that you can run, and you can finish. But if you want to finish and be happy, at the finish line, I truly believe that structured training kind of, helps a lot. And my story, that's how it starts, right? That's how I started running half marathon. And then my younger one, he also kind of joined Bala's club. And then I kind of started running with him, following his training schedule. And I kept on sort of, running year after year half marathons.
That's a fascinating
I want to add here, I remember that was my second half marathon when you were running your first. Yeah. And it was freezing that day for some reason. It was like close to 32, 33 degrees.
Right.
And it was, remember that? It was awful.
Yeah.
You were like shivering at the start line. How will we start? Let's correct. Remember that? So yeah, it wasn't easy.
Amazing. I mean, this story also highlights one other thing, right, guys? Here. Mm-hmm. There is no one path to being an excellent runner, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine, Srikanth, there's genes, there is some blessings of genes are also, all three of them. Another common thing I would say, all three are blessed with some solid strength genes, I would say, athletic strength genes or whatever. I mean, without even knowing what a half marathon is, just doing few miles or so and then going and not doing what? 2:28. That is just mind-blowing speed, right? I told you, right? Mine after training was 3 hours, 15 minutes, my first one. This guy without any training is 2:28. That's a starting point, right? So that's why these three are special to me. Like they have some raw skills, raw thing that they bring a separate facet to our collective experience as a group. And I know that Sonia has a similar one. I mean, Sonia, why don't you talk a little bit about that Philadelphia marathon that you signed up and then never trained for it? This is marathon, guys. This is not half marathon. This is marathon. Please talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was my second full marathon. And I trained very nicely for the first one. And I felt that my body knows how to do it, so I can do it. I wanted to train for it, but because of work and other schedule, I wasn't able to. But since I signed up for it, I did not want to let it go for nothing. And that was the night, I think it was before the Thanksgiving, and we were having a Thanksgiving dinner at Manoj's place. So I was talking to Bala and everyone there, should I run? I did not prepare. Bala said, don't do it. It may not, you'll hurt yourself. And I was like, okay, maybe not. Then I think there was Tejal also there, and she's one of our neighborhood friends. And she was like, doesn't matter, just go and run it. It's okay. Don't worry about the PR. I was like, there was a point. It's okay. I can go and run it. My body is trained. So we went home after the dinner, reached home around 12 o'clock. I was anxious because I had to drive to Philly, and my husband told me, you drive on your own. I'm not going to sit there with kids for 5 hours. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I left home at 3:30 because I wanted to be there well in advance, parking and stuff, all the logistics and I was worried about. So reached there at 5:10 or 5:15, reached pretty early. Was just roaming around there. It was freezing. It was November. But finished it pretty good, I think. My first full marathon was 4:51. This was close to 5 hours, which was not bad for
not bad.
Without training.
Fantastic.
So
it doesn't even come into this sentence, please.
Yeah, so it was not bad, but it was painful, to say the least. Like any marathon is painful. And the interesting part was I had to drive home. So I finished, and then I drove 2 hours back home immediately after the run.
Oh,
so it was quite a marathon from 3 o'clock until I finished and drove home.
So
it wasn't easy.
Just think about this, guys. The reason I brought these stories especially out from Srikanth and Sonia is that this is what a human body is capable of. I want you to know that, like mental benchmark. This is your human body is capable. Of course, there will be a downside injury and all that, but human body can be pushed to do these kind of things. Okay, I'm talking about regular, normal housewives able to do something. Okay, Sonia is not normal in any definition. She's extraordinary, but still, Sonia is not an army ranger or something. She's just a regular sort of like all of us. Think about it. Like previous night, she realizes that she hasn't actually not trained at all. It's like structured training. There is no S in that structured training till now. Right? And it's a Thanksgiving dinner. That means she has had solid food. And it's at 10 o'clock, she's beginning to reminisce. What do I do for tomorrow? And I am telling, forget about it. Like, so I'm already giving you a negative sort of, normally I give positive things, but in this one, I thought being realistic, negative. That's at 12 o'clock, she decides that, okay, she'll do it. She has to go, and her husband is like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this craziness. It's all you. So 3 o'clock she wakes up. That means 3 hours. I'm sure in that 3 hours she hasn't slept well because the pressure of running a full marathon is that sleep is not good. So 3 o'clock she drives, does a kick-ass 5-hour marathon. After that, after my second marathon, normally I need someone to just like a Mahatma Gandhi, I need somebody to walk me to my parking lot. She comes walking and she drives home. What she hasn't told you is that I get my mind blown that by looking at a Strava that evening, and I'm like pinging Strava, "Hey Sonia, you are like goddess for me." The place where I had the full chart up was the next day. She goes for a walk for 3.5 miles with her friend. You remember that? And I just pinged you and said, Sonia, stop doing this. What are you doing? No, I just want to, like, my friend ping me in the morning and we walk in the morning. She goes for a 3.5-mile walk.
Yeah.
So that is Sonia,
I
guys.
have a walking buddy. I was walking with her. So did not want to disappoint her.
So yeah, she doesn't want to disappoint. You know what I mean? She doesn't want to disappoint. This is what a human body is capable of. But that said, audience, I don't want any of you to be a hero and try all these things in this 16 weeks. You guys are on a different thing, but I want you to know this is the mental benchmark. If you push comes to shove, all of these things can happen. Thanks for bringing that to life, guys. So let's ask the next question.
Definitely believe in yourself and you can do anything. That's the thing.
Absolutely. So let's do a quick round. How many? So GV, start with you. How many half marathons you have done till now?
I've done 4, Bala, and actually I've done 5. One of them was a full marathon relay with 3 of my kids.
Got it. So, and what about you, Sonia? How many half and full you have done till now?
So I was trying to, I don't remember how many half marathons I've done. So part of the training for marathons, you run many more. So maybe 20, 25 plus half marathons. And full marathons, I think I've done 5 or 6. I think
you've done 6.
6, yeah.
Full marathons. Yeah. She's done 6 full marathons. That's all, like, guys, full marathon is a very different, don't think full marathon is just 2 times half marathon, okay? Full marathon is a whole new ball game altogether. Doing 6 of that, and then, yes, she must have done 20 plus half marathons for sure. What about you, Srikanth?
6 half marathons, Bala.
6 marathons. So what's your PR? Like, GV, what's your PR half marathon?
Mine is 158.
158, blistering run. What about you, Sonia? PR full and half?
So full is 4:51. That was my first one. And my half is, I think, 2:07 or 2:09, something like that.
Correct. No, it's 2:07. Last time, right? 2:07. Yeah. And Srikanth?
So mine is 1:59.
1:59.
Yeah, the last one was actually 2 hours. It was less than.
Yeah, correct. And I believe that all 3 can break 2. I mean, all 3, as in 2 have already broken. Sonia can also break 2 full half marathon, which probably this time I'm going to push you for. Hopefully, you have got our half season. Maybe let's try. And I also think GV can get 155 if you train. And same thing goes for Srikanth too. You have 155 could be a achievable number in the near future. Those are all like, ballistic numbers. These are all like mind-blowing numbers. They're reaching the rarefied space of, should I say, the upper corner of amateur running is around the 155 and, below. Phenomenal. So when you think about all these runs, let's start with GV. What is the most memorable one and why is that so?
Yeah, so I talked about the one which I didn't do well, right? So that is memorable in many ways because I learned a lot of what it takes to do it, right? But let me talk about the one which I did 158, which was the last season with Bala, with your training and so on. I think the first reason it was memorable because I did it with my family, right? Just so my wife Deepa and my boys, Netra couldn't run because she had the volleyball schedule. And that's the first one I really trained for. Everything else, I didn't show up and run, but I've trained for just few weeks, just trying to run 3, 4, 5, 6 miles over the weekends and a couple of runs during the week. No strength training. But this is the one I really did it from a structured training standpoint. 2 is I really challenged myself, I had a very specific goal, right, to do sub 2. Yep. Also I challenged myself not as much whether I can do sub 2, but to really see whether I can train every day for 16 weeks. I've never done that.
Correct.
I've never ever done that, anything in my life, of consistently doing something for 16 weeks. So that's something was very special. The third thing, So the third thing is, I really need to thank Deepa, my wife, of bringing the family together, and she insisting that we all have to train together as much as we can. Of course, we all had a schedule, school, and all of that. but kudos to her. We really did that, and we had a lot of interesting times together, and not so interesting times together as well. Not everybody wants to train all the time, right? So, but I think the training aspect was very special, Bala, right? I know I didn't, we talked about the run, but I just want to talk about the training was special. But now coming back to the run itself, so we all had a very defined goal and a defined plan of how we are going to run, although we all started together at the same point. The interesting thing was we are trained so much, so well, and again, given just numerically having every mile broken down to certain miles, till 10 miles, I was just in awesome plan to the probably 10 seconds plus or minus, right? So then come the last 5 miles where, last 3.1 miles, right? 5K, where I thought I had complete control, but from the 11th mile onwards, I still don't remember enough of what I did, because I don't think I had enough sugar in my body. It became a bit woozy, right, in terms of running. And I think I slowed down a bit in the 13th mile and so on. And funny enough, we all had some goo to eat. I had 2 goo stuff in my pocket, but it didn't even strike me that I should supplement myself with sugar. Right?
Oh Lord.
So, I still pushed through and finished my mile, and my daughter was waiting for us to kind of at the finish line, if you may. So this one run had all the experiences I wanted, right? Of perfect training outcome, coming up with a perfect splits I had for still the first 10 miles, but also show that it is never the same. You have to be prepared to deal with uncertainty and still deal with it for the next 3.1 miles. But still, it helped me achieve the goal I had of not giving up and sustaining it, and still being lucky enough to finish sub 2, right? Beautiful. So I think it's very special. And again, as I said, running with the family and everybody doing very close to what they planned for was phenomenal.
That was beautiful, beautiful. Congratulations. Breaking sub 2 is not an easy goal to break, and you did that so well. And that is with this kind of low energy last 3 miles. Imagine if you had taken the group properly, last 3 miles, what is makes or breaks your timing, as you know. So that's the bonus you have for the next run.
I think
brilliant.
Probably, but again, Bala, I'm sure thanking you is everybody in the group does it a lot. There's no doubt about it. But I think introducing this to this and consistently creating an environment to be able to thrive in that, right, is what I learned and I enjoyed. This is beautiful, right? Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Awesome, man. Sure thing. Srikanth?
Yeah, so for me, the most memorable one was my sub 2, obviously, but because of 2 primary reasons, right? One was, I could run with my younger one, and I know that maybe from next season onwards, or I don't know. I mean, as he grows up, his pace is going to improve, right? Yeah. So I won't be able to catch up with him anymore. So probably, this is probably one of those last couple of half marathons that I'll be able to run with him. And the second thing is that, see, I told you, right, my first half marathon without any training was 2:28, right? And then I did some training. I came to 2:20, then 2:15, then 2:12. What I realized that, and I think you have also mentioned this multiple times, like as you go close to the 2-hour mark, like shaving off half a minute, 1 minute is a big deal, like it becomes, I mean, you never think about it like that. 1 minute is nothing, right? But really it becomes a big deal to just shave off, like it takes years and years of training to just shave off 1 minute. So just to all the kind of runners in runner's high, right? My observation that, at least my observation is that you will see one big jump. If today you're doing a half marathon, like in 3 hours or 2 hours, 30 minutes, all of you will get one big jump. But after that one big jump, you have to be very patient in shaving, like you have to wait, and years of training. The speed at which you are going to reduce the time is not going to be the same as that one big jump.
Absolutely. Attention to detail. Small things matter then. How your shoe is pinned, your lace is tied too tight. Laces, correct. And did you have the goo properly at the right time? Like in the example of GV, for instance, where you're hydrating yourself. Small things that we talk. Did you do your strength training during the training? All of this will come together. That's why PR is something to be very personally proud of. And that's why my PR of half marathon was kept 4 years ago, and I've not come anywhere close to that. I don't think so I'll ever come close to that too. Of course, we're also growing old on one side, but breaking 2, man, again, phenomenal, Srikanth. That's a great story. Sonia?
So for me, it was my most memorable one was my full marathon, which was my first one. And it's memorable for a reason. It was my first one. I think the best one that I've done so far. I
Yep.
was younger, so I could run faster and I trained well. It was a very structured way of training, long runs over the weekends. You know how full marathon runs are. It's like 13 miles, 15 miles, 17 miles. So I remember the first time I ran my first 13 plus miles, I was crying with my coach. I said, I cannot do this. My whole body's aching.
Yeah.
I think I cannot do it. And she said, you can do it. Just bear with me and be patient. Don't run fast, slow down. She was always giving me the advice of slowing down. But I just cannot, I mean, I don't run fast, but I cannot slow down. It just bores me. If I slow down, I am already very slow. So it was her advice was slow down, and I tried. It was interesting experience, I must say. When I went for my full marathon, her advice was, since this is your first one, your goal is to finish it. And I said yes. And she said, what's your what are you aiming for? I said 5:30, and that's where I was standing. But when, you know, the energy, when you run a full marathon, the people around you, they just make you run faster for some reason. I don't know what it is. So I was just running. I was just following the flow. I was not trying hard at all. And I did my first one in 4:51. The other reason it was special was my full family was there. My kids were there, my husband was there, and they were cheering for me every 5 miles. And I could see their faces.
Yeah.
Mama, you can do it. You can do it. Just go on. And I remember I was at 24th mile or 23rd mile, and Trisha was there, and I picked her up and I ran with her. I was so happy to see her. And that brought me the, you know, the energy. And maybe that was the reason I was able to finish faster than I had thought for. And I remember Ishan running the last 1.5 miles with me on the boardwalk. So it was quite an experience from everything. It was a structured training. My family was there, and I was running without any target. I just wanted to finish it, and I think that was the reason. Maybe that was the reason I did well, because I was not following a target and saying, you know, I have to finish it. Because if you have too stringent targets for yourself, then it's difficult to reach. My goal was to finish it. And yeah, I still remember, I think as I'm talking to you, I remember, you know, how my kids were there and how I picked up Trisha, ran with her. It was quite an experience.
That's amazing. You know, I mean, there's another example of why Sonia is a superwoman. My first half full marathon at the mile 24 mark, I was not able to carry my own self, and forget about running. I was just, I don't know what I was doing at that time. Somehow I rolled, and here we have Sonia first marathon taking her kid and running. Sonia, another sort of pranam to you.
Around you, Bala, nothing else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So by the way, guys, you know, while like breaking 2 is a big deal in half, breaking 5 is also a big deal in full marathon. You know, that's a very big Lakshman Rekha for most sort of ordinary amateur runners. I mean, there's lots who will break it. It may not be in terms of pace, 5 is not equivalent to 2, but in terms of effort required for full marathon, first time when you're running a full marathon, no, breaking 5 is one of the big Lakshman Rekhas to cross. A lot of folks are there out there who have been trying full marathons and they are not able to break the 5. Because what happens in full marathon is after mile 21, 22, you have to experience it. Things happen in your body. Your body glycogen goes away. And so you got to now start, literally running on fumes. So that's where the make or break of breaking 5 happens in full marathon. Amazing, Sonia, amazing. So let's do our last 2 quick questions and bring this home. The first one is, another common thread among the 3 of you, like all 3 are parents of wonderful running kids, 10 to 12 year age group, all 3. And you have seen them grow, and they are athletic, they're great runners, and you know that they are going to become even better as you do that. So, and there are a lot of families here, a lot of parents here in our running group, and they all are also pondering whether to bring their kids around the same age group to in. So what would be 1 or 2 words of advice you would give as parents to parents and getting, and first of all, why do you think it's good to have your kids doing this as parent, and what is one advice you would give them to make them do better? This time, let's start with Srikanth.
Yeah. So one of the advice, that I would give, and that I've seen personally, with Sammy being one of the runner, is this whole running schedule brings some sort of a discipline in the kid, right? And second thing is also focus, because nowadays, I don't know if all of you agree with me or not, but because there are a lot of time that kids spend on gadgets and video games and stuff like that, right? So that time that they actually get to spend outdoors, right? So if they have to kind of go and do training, right? And one thing that is there in your schedule, Bala, is that you structure the training in such a way that there's a minimum amount of time, irrespective of your pace or based on your pace or whatever it is, there's a minimum amount of time that the person needs to spend outdoor.
Correct.
Right? That's what you hope the training does. And that actually is a very good segue, from their everyday sort of activity. So essentially they get to spend time outdoors. It gives them more focus. And, with kids, one thing that you could be very certain about is that, they have very lesser chance of getting injured or any of those problems, right? It's not like they're like young. So it brings a lot of discipline, in their life and focus, which is going to help in some of the other activities.
Correct.
So if you forget about running, right, there are a lot of other activities that they can actually, that helps them. So that's one of the advice, that I would give to most of the parents out here.
It's a big character building activity, discipline, focus, resilience, beating boredom. All of these are things that we all know is going to be useful in all parts of life. Sonia, would you agree? What are your any other thoughts?
So I echo what Srikanth said. Definitely, it helps in character building. Ishan started running 4 years ago. He did 4 marathons, and I think it's a combination of teaching your kids the commitment to follow a structured training. And structured training is just an example of a running, but it gives the how to follow a regimen for a period of time consistently.
Correct.
Right. And with the same dedication. So there are a lot of elements that helps your kid build into a good person at the end of this journey. And it's not only about the journey. Starting one is easy, but how to bring it to a destination and to bring it to an end is important. Wonderful. And I remember the days when Ishan finished his first one, and he was elated and talking to me about how he learned all these disciplines in life. Because your teaching style, Bala, it's not giving them just a training schedule. I remember you talking about the pillars of training and giving examples, sharing stories. So that is something which comes free to everyone who joins this training schedule. And I think no one should miss it. Because you'll not get a coach like Bala. I'm not praising you, but I'm speaking the truth because I've seen it for my son. And I do ask Trisha to listen to the podcast, and she will ask me, what does this mean? What does that mean? So I have to, sit down with her and explain her things. So definitely agree with you.
Thank you, Sonia. And guys, you should know Ishan is the absolute of the absolute elite runner in our group. He's just taken a 1-season break. He's doing so many other things right now, extracurriculars. And, I'd only told that take a break. Most kids like Sammy and Tanush and everybody, they look up to Ishan as a benchmark. He's the 150, 151 pace half marathoner. And I think he'll be a 140 half marathoner. If you ask Tej, he picked Ishan to be the first one in the group to get to 140. So 140 is like another rarefied of the rarefied space. And, he's one of the most, he's like a horse. He's literally like Sammy. All these are horsemen. He's like the secretariat when it comes to sort of running. Just phenomenal athlete. Of course, genes from Sonia and Atul, clearly. JV, what about you? Any suggestions to fellow parents?
Sure. Yeah. I'm just going to kind of slightly flip it from what Sonia and Srikanth said, right? I think we all can learn a lot from what kids do, right?
Yeah,
and I'll just say it in a slightly different way, right? Of course, I agree with most of what he said, that we learned that helped all our kids. See, I think when many a times we as parents give them very guided instructions on do this, do this, do this, do this, do this all the time, right? But I think this is one area where, of course, we have to get them committed to this, right, from a schedule and all of that. But when you let them loose, given their in the moment unconstrained thinking, they do certain things which helps them, right? Like for example, this whole discipline about doing this consistently, right? I mean, it's something that couple of my kids do this better than me, I would say that, right? So in terms just, and then that motivated me a lot, right?
Mhm.
And then they see that happening, right? And then they are trying to learn something else which you are good at, right? So then it becomes kind of a positive spiral that kind of builds up,
Yeah.
right? The second thing is, I think when I'm very strongly believe in this and to do sports, and that's true with other activities as well. We should not treat kids as kids. We should treat them as adults. And Bala, you do that, and you say that also. Because okay, I'll just give an example. Till today, when I play with my kids or when I run with my kids, I won't give in. I play to win, right? When I can say that, I'm sure my boys won't like it. Still, they have not beaten me in basketball, and we guys are going to do 100 meters soon. And I'm sure I'm waiting for the day I'm going to lose, and probably
And
I
those
will.
days are numbered, huh? It's just very small.
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm just trying to make the most out of it while it lasts.
Yeah.
I already lost GV.
Yeah. He tried that. Yeah, it's a funny story later on we'll share.
Correct. So Vidyut does actually sprints better than his long distance. So I'm sure I'm waiting for 100 meters in the track soon. I'll post a video once we do. Right.
Yeah.
But the point is, I think once you don't have to push them, but once you start not giving them easy things, I think they really do that very well. Right. Again, the examples last season we saw of kids like Sanjana, right, falling down, getting up, and still completing her runs and so on. Right. I'm sure it's also because at that moment people didn't say that, oh, it's too bad, let's stop and all of that. They just, okay, just wipe it and move on kind of a thing, right? So my lesson is that if we let them explore and find themselves and find things around that, I think there's a lot to be had, right? And that buys them into the program rather than being very restrictive or very prescriptive about what they need to do. I know the broad framework should apply, but within that, I will give them some leeway to explore
That's
themselves.
very beautifully said. I 100% concur. I'm sure other two will concur too, because I know they think alike. Treating them as adults, another way of saying is give them the leadership opportunity to teach you, you know, so you don't restrict them in terms of what they can do. Because you and I did not have structured half marathon training when we were 10-year-old. So you don't look at what they are capable of doing through your lens of what they can do. You know, I mean, like my daughter has done 4th half marathon at the age of 11. I mean, if 13 years old, if she wants to do a full marathon, I'll say, go ahead. You know, I mean, I cannot imagine, but we don't restrict them when they're ready for full marathon. I think this is a very important learning for many parents here, because they are introduced to things that you and I did not get introduced to till much later in life. So their starting point is very, very different. So you don't be the filter for what they can possibly do because of this. And this, as Sonia and Srikanth rightly said, there's a lot of transferable skills here, you know, which they would apply to other parts of their life. So let's watch them lead us and train us and teach us. I think that's beautifully said as kids parents. Thank you for that. I'll try to apply that to my as a parent. I'll try to apply that to your lessons. Guys, this has been a fascinating discussion. I can't even believe it's about almost 40 minutes or so since we started. So let's bring this home with just one sentence word of or a sentence of advice to 75 plus newcomers in the season who have done their first 8-week relentless training ever in their life. For most part, you know, they are in the high, they're in a runner's high right now, because they can't believe that they've completed 8 weeks. And you would have heard some messages like, man, I can't believe I've done 100 miles already or something like that. But they also know that the business end of the training is coming, the second half, where they are not yet done. Now is the real deal, where the second half mileage increases, all the stuff happens, injury might happen, many things might happen, but you have to keep focus. So from that context, having done these things a couple of times, what would be some advice that you can give to newcomers, especially on how to handle the second half of the training program? And this time let's start with Sonia.
So my advice would be, do not overthink running. You can walk, you can run. and listen to your body. You have a structured schedule, follow the schedule, because first time if you're running, you don't want to injure yourself. So it's important to follow the schedule. After that, I would say your body learns the trick and knows the drill, so it becomes easier. But follow the training schedule for the first season, definitely.
Beautiful.
Do not skip that. And do strength training at the same time. Because without strength training, your muscles are, the memory is lost very quickly. So you need to train not only the legs, but also other parts of the body to sustain and endure the run as you're doing it.
Absolutely. And it's very nicely put. Don't overthink it. I know that, especially newcomers, getting introduced to all these extra terms and terminologies and splits and, CP system, muscular and all, like then how do I adjust my form? What is the angle in which my foot needs to land? Those are all good, but you are at the end of the day starting the journey. As long as you can wear the shoe and get out of the house, 95% of your job is done. Then just go with the flow. Everything will automatically fall into place. We are not training for Olympics here. We're just training for just being healthy. That's all we're trying to do here. Even if you don't, let's say your target of 2 hours, 45 minutes, and that day you did 2 hours, 55 minutes. I've seen many first timers feel as if they have failed, and then I have to tell them, hey, let's just step back here, okay? 16 weeks ago, you couldn't do half a mile. You did 13 miles and you missed by 10 minutes of your own target and you feel sad. Come on. This is the best example of pulling defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay, so I think that's what Sonia is talking about. Let's not overthink it. Just go and enjoy it. The minute you're out, you will finish the job. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Sonia. What about you, GV?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would suggest think of more of what you are getting out of the program, right? Sorry, what you're getting out of the program overall than what you're giving into the program. Yes, what you're giving in, a lot of effort, a lot of time, right? A lot of energy, and I'm sure it comes with certain pain and so on, right? But if I just look back at myself, so because of this running and the second half of the running, if you miss second half of the season with longer runs, I actually actively took to listening a lot more podcasts, right? And great books, great podcasts. Again, we saw a lot of recommendations as well, which I've never done before, which was fun, right? So, and we as a family have not done a common sporting activity, right? Yes, I mean volleyball. All my boys also played for a few times, but I was a coach coaching their teams, so we had a lot of fun in the past. But like with Deepa coming in, actually training for something long term, yeah, we all have played, right? But that was beautiful for me, right? In terms of what we all were able to do. So think of those things you are getting out of the program at a bigger, at a broader picture, rather than the day-to-day pain or the challenge that you are going through, if at all, right? The one other thing I would also think about, right? So again, in my philosophy of life, to some extent, is about a lot of positivity we have to try for. And it's all about increasing the number of cheerful moments we have and building long-term relationships with people, whomever we can. And I think this platform that we have gives a lot of that, right? Just so many people whom we don't know, you're not seen, who are so involved in our success and concerned about us. I'll give you an example. Last week in Dallas, we had some bad weather and all of that. Well, there are a lot of people who responded in the common RHWB WhatsApp. We got so many individual messages as well from people whom we have not even met. How beautiful is that, right? Yes. For long-term relationship that we build, right? Two, every small thing that you do, there are so many people cheering you on. Each of them is a moment to cherish. And I'm sure when you finish the race, it'll be a bigger moment to cherish as well, right? So, and this all builds a lot of positivity in you, which you can transfer, and you also give it back to this group, right? So I say, if you look at it from a bigger perspective than the day-to-day challenge, there's a lot more reasons as to why you will do it and why you will enjoy it and why you will finish it and have a lot of fun.
Beautiful. What a beautiful set of words. GV almost gave a JFK type quote. Look what like what did he say? Like, look what, don't think about what what the country has given to you, but think about what you're giving to the country, something like that. Don't think about what you give into running. Think about what you're getting out of it. Oh, beautiful. I'm going to steal that quote for future podcast or weekend messages. GV, I'll give you some royalty whenever I get something out of it. Thank you, GV. And Srikanth, bring it home, buddy, with your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think my advice is that just trust your training. You guys have trained enough. So again, just having like going all the way to the starting line of your half marathon itself is a win-win. Don't think too much, right? And on that marathon day, anything can happen, right? I mean, sometimes, I've seen, I mean, it has happened to me. Like, so I would have eaten something in the morning that doesn't go well with me. Anything can happen on that day. So don't get disappointed if something happens and because of which you miss your PR or whatever it is. Just trust your training and just enjoy the run. That's the thing. Just enjoy. You guys need to enjoy the run. Don't think it about like a training and stuff like that. Enjoy. Just go and enjoy.
Beautiful. Remember, guys, it's an important message here. Your job is done when you have trained well and you are at the starting line of the marathon. Your job is already done. After that, whatever happens is just that day's occurrence. It means nothing. I mean, it means something. Of course, it means something, but that is not what we are in this business for. We are in this business for something much larger than what you did for the 2.5 hours between the start line and the finish line. Wow, beautiful. Thank you, guys. I expected this. I expected this very insightful discussion to happen, and that's exactly what happened. Thank you, Srikanth, not only for the podcast, for all the things you're doing for the Runners High Group. Kids, supporting kids is your passion, I know. And thank you, Sonia, for being that beacon of what excellence could look like and inspiring everybody around you, and especially me. And thank you for that one question that you had asked, that, that was the seed of Runners High with Bala. And so thank you for doing that. And GV, you are a very cerebral person in a very positive way, I want to say. So you analyze everything, and the way you do that is given me a tremendous amount of, sort of inspiration on how people should think about when you want to improve on something. How do you go about doing that? I learned from it, and I hope you can teach that to others too. As we move forward, I'm hoping that I'm expecting you going to be joining the coach sure. List very soon next season. So thank you, guys. Thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.